Hello, everybody. It is Sippin Sundays. I'm so glad that you are joining us again today. We actually are in the process of moving our home office. So I'm so glad that you're able to join us today. In the midst of that, child, I'm down here doing all kinds of projects. So y'all just have to bear with me today. I may hop back on here and get some work done, but it is so exciting to be with you all today. So I'll give you guys another minute or so and I'll be back. You may hear some tinkering. I may turn the camera so you can hear me or see me tinker and talk to you guys about what we're going to talk about today. So today, first of all, I'm excited about starting this particular series because this series gets a little bit into the things that are super important to you. Like what we have been talking about this entire series this year have been, just a quick recap, we've talked about tithing, we've talked about saving. So this quarter, we're going to talk about debt reduction. So yeah, we're talking about like how to deal with the debt that you currently have, how to not get into more debt, how to manage your debt in a way to where you can leverage. That's the word I'm looking for. How can you leverage your debt? So that's where this portion of our series is going to be on. So this month, next month, and then October, we're going to talk about different ways, the whys, the hows, the wheres, for reducing our debt. So yeah, I think we can go ahead and get into it now. So first of all, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm not against debt per se, but what I would like to say about it is it could keep you in a stronghold if you're not careful. Before I get going too deep, please tell me who you are, where you're from, what inspired you to join us, and I'm just going to say hello to everybody in the chat and just kind of welcome everybody. And thank you for joining us. Okay. Alrighty, there we go. So there's that. I'm not against it. I think debt could be really used for the right things if you can manage it correctly. I think that debt could be really used for awesome things. I mean, think about it. You could, purchase a car, a home, take care of some needs. But at the same time, there are ways to manage it where you're not enslaved. I think that's probably the best word I got right now is enslaved. If you're not careful, debt could really enslave you. The word talks about the importance of using debt appropriately, not co-signing for people. That's a whole other topic. But not co-signing for people, using debt as, or rather getting out of debt as quickly as you can. The word talks about that. So it's important that we heed what the word says concerning debt. But I want to provide some practical things, with me being a professional and all. I wanted to provide some practical things that we could do to keep our debt managed properly as well. So the next 25 minutes or whatever we got left, we're going to discuss the where. Where do you debt reduce exactly? Like what kinds of debt would we consider reducing? Why is it important to, reduce that debt? We'll talk later, next couple of episodes about the whys, but we do this time want to start with where. So where do we debt reduce? I may tease a little bit of some whys. I just get on here and I just get excited that you're here and that I just want to give you all the information that we can in like a 30-minute span, but we're going to do our best. So where? First of all, if there's any part of this that may speak specifically about where you are, I'm always going to give some tips on how to overcome. Like if this is where you are today, okay, let's figure out, how to get, around, out, under, whatever. But let's start with where. So where should we debt reduce? I would say one of the places that you want to debt reduce is credit card debt. Credit card debt, if you're not careful, you could spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars in interest charges per month predicated on what your debt is. I've got some cool gadgets that I use. Y'all know I'm a math nerd, so, no big surprise, right? But I'm a math nerd, and I have some cool gadgets that I use to help my clients understand exactly how to deal with the debt that they have. There are people who have credit card debt from a variety of places. Like, you can always get your traditional MasterCard, Visas, American Express. Am I missing one? Discover. Anyway, you can always get, a credit card, just a general credit card. But you can also accrue debt rather from other places, like your favorite electronic stores, your favorite furniture store, your favorite home improvement store. And these are just a few examples on the different kinds of credit card debt that you can incur. So there are situations, though, where you can incur these debts, and it's super cool to be able to leverage the good credit that you have and enjoy a 0% interest, for a prescribed amount of time. Sometimes you can have a situation to where if you buy so much or spend so much rather, then you would be able to enjoy a 0% interest for 6 months. I think PayPal does something like that. Like if you buy PayPal credit, if it's like $100 or more, normally it's like 6 months of no interest charges, which is pretty cool. I mean, to have credit good enough to be able to pull that off, I think is awesome. The key is that we don't want to get caught slipping and not pay the entire balance off before the promotional months expire. We'll get into that a little bit later, but just again, the bare minimum, the bare basics rather, concerning different types of credit card debt. So you can have store credit cards, you can just have your normal run-of-the-mill Visas, MasterCards, whatever. So you can have those. Now, what I find is that most people get those kinds of credit cards because of an emergency. You may have to fly home because of an emergency. You may have to, car repairs could be super expensive. Medical emergencies. I mean, these things could be very expensive. And if you don't have the proper savings, then, you're charging whatever you need to charge in order to handle the situation. Now, of course, last quarter, we talked about savings and why it was important to save. So they really set the stage for, debt reduction. The first thing you do want to do in a debt reduction situation, though, is have adequate savings. Now, adequate savings, and this is just a kind of a quick recap of what we've talked about before, but adequate savings could be, 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. It could be, depending upon where you live, especially where I live is in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia, or the DMV. So where we live, it could be recommended up to 12 months because, sequestration happens. You don't know how long the government will shut down, or if you're a contractor or somebody who works closely with the government, but not exactly for the government. Sometimes those contracts with the federal government can end at a moment's notice, or, there may be some time where a contract is scheduled to end. It ends on schedule, but you still have, a hard time getting, on to another contract, so you can continue to get paid, adequately and, efficiently as on time all the time. So there might be some delay there. So we always want to make sure that we have adequate savings for those reasons. And then as time happens, as things go on and life happens, you want to make sure that you have adequate savings for emergencies. So the emergencies we talked about, like whether it be you got to fly home, car repair, and, those types of emergencies. So that's going to be super important for you to be able to have. Now, having that will keep us from getting into more debt. So having the appropriate savings keeps us from charging our credit card even the more, which is so important. So when we do debt reduction, it's going to be even more important and which is why we set the stage the way we did, to have that savings available. So the key is you're going to have savings, adequate savings for emergencies, so you don't have to touch your credit card and, start that debt reduction in that way. Emergency situations could be defined in a lot of ways. Going out with your friends is not constituted as an emergency. They're going to Puerto Rico and you don't want to be left behind, not considered an emergency. Those aren't considered emergencies or reasons why to, dip into extra credit card debt. You want to save for that first. Y'all know I'm a proponent for saving first. Save for those things. Plan. When you plan, you can save properly. So if you're saving that money for those times, then cool. We don't have to worry about charging up our credit card debt, because remember, the topic is debt reduction, not going into more debt. It's debt reduction. So we want to make sure that, we have adequate savings. The second thing we'll need to do is stop using your credit cards. I know I just hurt your feelings. Number one, save the adequate savings, just like we talked about the last quarter. But it's important to make sure that you stop using your credit cards. In order for us to debt reduce, we're going to have to reduce usage of the credit cards. I know it makes sense, but we're going to have to reduce the usage. So sometimes it takes like for real super commitment. Like, I'm not using these credit cards anymore, like ever. I remember, and you may have heard the story if you know me, that I remember when I was in my financial advisor's office and I was so distraught about my credit card debt. Now, mind you, my credit card debt was about $1,100, but to me, that was all the money in the world, because I just could never get from under an $1,100 credit card debt. I just could not get from under that. And I was just so distraught. And I used that for fun, as in my credit card. I use my credit card for fun. So when I say, going out with your friends, not an emergency, that's what I had to realize myself when I was younger. But I couldn't, not only did I max my credit card, because my credit card was actually $1,000 limit, but my balance actually was $1,100. So I was spending, my minimum payment included normally a late fee, normally a fee for the fact that I had more on the balance than my actual limit was. So that was another fee, and then the actual minimum payment. So I was just, I could spend $100 and not even crack the surface of what I spent already. So I do remember sitting in the office and I was crying about this credit card debt because I just wanted it over like yesterday. And so I do understand how my clients feel and how you may feel about your debt. You didn't run it up in a day. Well, no, you didn't. I'm just kidding. You didn't run it up in a day, so it's not going to take a day to overcome it, but you can start one day at a time. And for me, the first day for me starting to debt reduce was actually cutting up my credit card. Now, that is super serious commitment. And as I'm cutting it with the scissors, I remember boo-hooing because I just could not believe not only that was I making that decision, but that meant something very critical. I actually had to spend the money that I actually earned and had in my bank account. And that hurt my feelings, like for real, because, I might not have enough money to go out with my friends. And back then, so we're talking like, mid-90s. Back then, shoot, we went to Applebee's. That was the place to be. So anyway, but still, just understanding that in order for me to start debt reducing, I had to stop using my credit card. That was one of those come to Jesus moments. And I cut up my credit card and I vowed, not to get another one. And I worked with what I had. And then after a while, I got a second job. I worked at the bowling alley for a while. I was the girl that was calling the numbers for your food, and I poured beer and I did whatever I had to do, at that particular job so that I could earn tips and, earn my paycheck. And so in my debt reduction strategy, I got a second job for like 6, 7, 8 maybe months. And then it was on to something else. But I'm telling you, during that time, look at me, I'm telling you what I know. I used the money that I earned from my second job and my tips. That's what I lived on. And my paycheck from my job, that's what I used to reduce my debt. Did I say I was serious? Because I was like serious. Because my fun and my livelihood, was going to be dependent upon the fact that, I needed to make enough money at the bowling alley so that I could, this was going to be like my fun money. I didn't have a car at the time, and I was still in the military, and I was single, so I could just go to the chow hall for my food. So, it wasn't the best, but hey, it was subsistence. I was eating. It is what it is. And if I didn't make enough money, during that time, at the bowling alley, somebody wasn't going out or somebody wasn't, getting extra stuff. I was just, going to meet my basic needs, stuff to, hygiene, groceries and things like that. If it wasn't past that, I just wasn't going to spend it because I was that committed. To getting out of debt. And I'm not saying that has to be your plight, because that's not the only time I've been in debt. There's other things that I've done over the years to get out of debt, but that was step one for me, is cut down my credit card and then going like full throttle, getting a second job. So I was like for real serious. I was dead serious about that. So then when it was time for me to get my first new car back in 2001, I think. Back in 2001, I got my first new car. I got a RAV4. My car's name was Anthony. I ended up naming my son Anthony, but my car's name was Anthony. But when that time came, I was able to, have them run my credit, and I was able to get a vehicle that I really wanted. And I didn't have, any debt, to deal with. So they were able to approve me and whatnot. So, shoot, I'm 25, 26 at this point, buying my first new car. So if you're, 25 or younger or whatever, and you never bought a first new car, okay, it's okay. And, it was something I was able to afford because I worked so hard to not only get out of debt, but I made sure that I had, I started putting money to the side and start saving my dollars as well. So, that's, one thing that I ended up doing. But that was just credit card debt that I'm dealing with at that moment. So it is important, number one, to stop using the credit cards, but then you might have to do some things to increase your income. And it's not always a second job. Sometimes it is, just committing to a budget to where you're not spending more than, this particular amount. And then you're able to put money to the side and then still be able to debt reduce. So, there's some sacrifices, that I've made over the years in order to deal with debt reduction. So credit card debt, that's where my focus was at that time. Later on, we'll talk about cars, we'll talk about homes, we'll talk about all that stuff. But credit cards was my main focus, at that time of my life. And, I've had situations where I'm able to continue to, grow. There's some other things that I wanted to do. I had to get my credit up even more. As I was, keeping my credit card expenditures down, my credit, score went up. Who knew, right? So I was able to, continue to allow my credit score to go up. And then I would get these things in the mail saying, oh, you've been pre-approved, for a credit increase or pre-approved for this new credit card or something. So I got geeked up. I was like, yes, I'm able to, get more credit and stuff. Ciao. I didn't really learn my lesson. So I didn't. So I ended up getting credit card debt again. But in this situation, the second time I went into deep credit card debt, it was because I was not doing the right things to keep my business afloat. So at the time, the second job I was doing another I had my own business doing something else, and it was Mary Kay, and I wanted to have, so much inventory, but I did not do a good job of making sure that I had enough money. And I just continued to run up my Mary Kay credit card, and before I knew it, I was over $10,000 of debt, and I had all this inventory. And I remember telling my husband, ooh, that was a hard conversation. I remember telling him, he was like, what? Because I kept that from him. Note, do not keep those types of things from your spouse. That is not the move. But I kept it from him, and he was very upset with me. He forgave me quite quickly, but he was like, we're going to deal with this. But we're going to deal with this. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. So I felt horrible about it. And I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was rubbing up my credit card so that I could sell all this inventory. But I ended up buying a whole bunch of stuff that people didn't want or need, or the complexions I didn't sell to. So with that being said, I had a whole lot of inventory. So once I had that come to Jesus moment, guess what your girl did? Your girl went on eBay, and I ended up selling a whole lot of Mary Kay stuff. I didn't make all my money back, but I'm telling you what, I put a smooth dent into that credit card debt. And so, we're at over 10 grand. I know I probably put 6,000 or 7,000 on that. Yes, that's how much inventory I had. And I'm talking about, I was on my hustle. You hear me? And I also committed to not doing things like going shopping, going out to eat and stuff like that. I committed to that. And my husband was supportive of me. Now, we used our money together to get out of that. So, if you're married, sometimes it's a team effort for that to happen. And without him, I wouldn't have been able to get out of that debt. But we, again, I had my come to Jesus moment, and I apologize for number one, for doing that. And then two, keeping that from him. That was not fair. So being able to talk with him about it, and he was like, okay, we're going to do this, but this better not. What he said was, this better not happen again. I was like, all right, no problem. You're right. And so we pulled our money and our attitudes together to completely get out of that. And it took us, after I hustled that stuff off of eBay, so we're like another $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Oh, hold on. Oh, somebody asked me, oh my goodness. Somebody asked me, did I continue to sell Mary Kay? No, I did not. That was it. No, I was done. I decided that I needed to do something else, and I needed to treat my money better. See, here's what people don't understand. What people don't understand is, if you can make more money, but if you have not inherited those good financial habits, you're going to get back in the same situation, except it's going to be more and deeper than what you were before. So remember, I was crying about this $1,100 credit card. Remember that? $1,100. And I was crying. You hear me? Now we're talking about like 10, 11,000. I made more money, but I still had poor habits. So having more money does not solve the problem. You need to solve the problem by dealing with those issues and handling the little that you have. So when you get more, you know how to make that money flip. That's going to be the key. So it doesn't matter if you go in with the same attitude that got you into the debt. If you're making more money, you're just going to mess it up again. You want to be able to learn. Remember, I told you from that 1,100, I didn't learn. I clearly did not learn. But the second time, I got into this, then, it was something I learned and I never, ever stopped learning from. So anyway, again, got my hustle on, put about 6,000, 7,000 on that. And then, took us some time to get from the rest of that. But I'm telling you what I know, it was tough dealing with that. But I'm so glad that I went through that, because I feel like had I not done that and not learned from that, I make more money today, but I probably would have been in worse credit card debt than before. And I'm proud to say, we don't have any credit. We don't have any credit card debt. And I'm very proud to say that. I will say this, when we do things like home improvement, or we need more gadgets for the house or for my business or whatever, we do take advantage of our great credit to where we're able to exercise a 0%. Now, we got 5 minutes left, so I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna give you this tea right here. You got to hear me on this. People get caught up if they don't do this the right way. So I'm going to give you a few quick tips on how to deal with that credit card situation where you're like, all right, I got the hustle right now. I'm going to take these credit cards here and move this to 0%. I'm gonna get this and I'm gonna go ahead and hammer that out. Let me tell you now. Number one, if you don't have the surefire plan to make sure that that credit card is paid off at that 0% when that promotion is ended, you did not win. I repeat, if you don't go in with the plan to pay that credit card off at that 0% interest when that promotion time has ended, you did not win. Here's what I mean by that. What happens when you buy things on 0%? I mean, it sounds super sexy, right? You're like, ooh, I got this 0%. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to chill. No, that is not what you do. What happens is it's going to be 0%. But then you got to read the fine print, like on your statement, maybe page 3. It'll tell you that your interest charge on this purchase is 0% until this particular month and year. Then underneath that, it'll tell you your real interest charge. So like, I forget what store credit card it is, but it's like 22% or 25 or something crazy, right? I think it's 26.99. I'm pretty sure that's it. But once that promotion goes away, as the promotion has been happening, so let's say it's 12 months. You have been kicking it for the past 12 months and paying your minimum payment thinking, oh, this is going to all work out in the end. What's happening is that 26.99% that is your real credit card interest. Once the promotion is over, that 26.99 interest charge has been deferred, which means it's been collecting interest kind of over here. And then at month 13, bam, that's what's going to hit you. And then you're going to be crying about this. You think I was crying about that credit card? You have not seen sobbing tears until you've had that experience. So it's important that if you're going to do like balance transfers and things like that, make sure you have a plan going in on how you're going to make sure that that is paid off before the promotion ends. Now, what the Smiths do, we take full advantage of the promotion, but we make sure that we've got money in the bank to where if anything happens, we can pick that money up, move it over here, and we don't have to worry about those interest charges. So you heard me right. A lot of these cases, we're saving the money first. We're saving the money first, and then we're able to exercise that. What that means to us is we're enjoying our whatever we took home. We're enjoying it. We're not, having to worry about paying interest, and we're making those payments. Sometimes it's the minimum payments, and we just kind of got the money for the rest of it kind of just saved. Or sometimes we broke the payments out in maybe 10 months. So where in 10 months, we're going to pay this off, and we've divided the payment plan in our minds and in the schedule and in our budget so that we can pay that off at a prescribed time. So what we try to do is pay it off in 10 months if it's a 12-month situation, or in 22 months if it's a 24-month situation. So 1, you got to have the plan. 2, I recommend you have a robust savings so that if anything does happen, you don't want to get caught with those interests coming back to bite you at the end. Have that money in savings. You can transfer it. You don't have to worry about those interest charges. And guess what? You paid as if you did, like you paid cash that day. And it took you, 12 months? You just enjoyed it. It took you 10 months to pay it off, but, they gave you 12 months to enjoy it interest-free. That's how you get them. So you don't give them all the time. You don't just take your $10,000 or whatever it is and just give it to them. You leverage that, honey. You take your $10, you say, I'm going to use your money. And then I'm going to piecemeal my money to you. Because remember, this is collecting interest. Even if it's in your bank account, it's still collecting interest. Over here, when you're paying on that 0%, it's not. But the key is, again, and I'm going to let y'all go, but the key is to make sure that as you're debt reducing, especially those credit cards, and you do that balance transfer, you got to pay it off before the promotion ends. I'm telling you what I know. Take my advice. That's all I'm going to say. If you try it and it don't work, I told you. Anyway, you have been with Tea Sippin Sundays. I really appreciate us getting together. You can always connect with me at www.thefinancialtea.org. That is www.thefinancial, the letter T.org. And we will see you next month at Tea Sippin Sundays. Take care and please be safe. Wear the mask, people. Just wear it. Just wear it.